Hello everyone, it's Patrick from Pile of Code, and welcome to our Java tutorials series. So this video is going to focus on how to create your first Java program, how to compile it and run it and get some output going to the console. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to open up any text editor of our choice. The one that I'm going to go with is one that is called Sublime Text 3. There's a link to it explaining on our integrated development environments versus text editors page. I recommend reading that. If you're just starting to learn Java, I recommend starting with a text editor versus an integrated development environment. But Sublime Text is kind of the blend of the two. It's a great way to start learning a new language, and it lets you get started really easily, and it offers you code highlighting as well, which is really nice. So let's get started by opening up a new file. Awesome. So you can just hit, if you're looking on your Mac for your text editor, you can always hit a little shortcut here, Command Spacebar, to open up Spotlight Search. It might look a little bit different depending on what version of OS X you're using, but if you open up, you can always search. I'm going to go with Sublime Text. And all right, so we have our new file here, and I'm just going to save this. First thing we're going to do is save it as, let's call it first.java, and let's save it on our desktop. Alrighty, so now that I have that saved on my desktop, I have the file opened up here, and you guys can actually just go to our webpage here and copy this little bit of code to get started, which is what I'm going to do because I don't really feel like typing it out today. All right, and there we go. There's the code we need. That is going to be our first Java program. This will actually compile without any errors and run just as it is right now, which is great. But I'm just going to show you guys a little bit about this. But basically what we're saying is that we have a public class, which I'll go into detail explaining a little bit later on in the tutorials. But in Java, you have public versus private, and that has to do with what things can access that class. But more details on that later. But basically, you just have to know that your main is always going to have to be within a public class. Whenever you're naming your classes, they have to be exactly the same naming as the Java file how the Java file is named, with the same capitalization, exactly how it is. So you can see that I have first.java here exactly. I have first as my class name here. Otherwise, Java will not compile that, and you will have errors whenever you're trying to run it. Then we have this public static void main function, which is just going to be our main function, and whenever Java's compiling, this is what it looks for first. It says, where is this void main function that I'm going to look for? It's a static function, which again is going to be in a further video. It's not very important right now, but it's void because it doesn't return actually anything, and it is the main function that we're going to run. So if you were going to run this right now, it would run, but what we're also going to do is we're going to add a line in here so that we can actually print something when we run this program, so we know that it actually runs. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to type in system dot out and then dot println, a pair of parentheses and then a semicolon to end the line. Every line needs to be ended in a semicolon in Java. This is one of the most important things, every line of code that you have, because that's how the Java compiler knows that that line has ended. If you're coming from a language like Python, you might have learned in Python that it's all about tabs and spacing. In Java, you can screw up your tabs and spacing as much as you want. It's not a big deal. Those semicolons are what is going to make the difference. But do tab and space everything properly because it'll make it a lot easier for you. And so now let's look at this statement here. It says system.out.print. By calling system.out, we're calling the system library of Java that's been built in, where the print function has already been coded for you. So we can just call on this every time we want to run a print. Now, anything that is going to be between the parentheses, if it's a string, so a string of characters, needs to be between double quotation marks. So let's print, this is my first Java program. And so basically when we run this program, anything that's between these parentheses is going to get printed out in the statement. I don't want to move my double quotes there, actually. Yes. And what we do here is we put any of our character strings that we want to print out in this format. And so now this is going to be our first Java program that we're going to run. Now, to run a Java program, this stems from the way that Java is built. Java, you have a .java file, and then you need to turn that into a .class file, which is what you can then run. Because Java is a write once, run anywhere program, which means that you write this file once, and you can run it on any system that has its own Java compiler. Even though they might be different architectures, different systems entirely, it'll still run your Java as long as it's compiled on that system. So what you want to do is, as long as you've installed JDK, which is in a previous video that's posted on our site, on your Mac or your Windows machine, you want to open up Terminal. So we can quickly get to that by going Command space. And what we're actually going to do is Command space, and I'm going to search up Terminal, which is a quick way to get to it. Terminal is going to open up. It logs in. I'm just going to clear that to make it nice and easy to see. And what we need to do is that we need to, first of all, change our working directory to our desktop. So we're going to go CD desktop. Make sure you're working within your desktop. I know in Windows, if you open up a desktop folder in your File Explorer, you can actually go directly to command prompt from there, which should make it easier for you guys. And what you want to type in is you want to go javac, and then what you want to type in is first.java, because that's our file name. The javac function will turn your .java file into a .class file, which is what we want. We're going to have that run. As soon as it's done, if I go ls here, I can see that I have this first.class file. So that's what I did. I ran this javac first.java function, and it ran. And now if we run java, not javac, we want to run java, and then we type in just first, it'll find the .class file on its own. We run it. Look at that. No errors. This is my first Java program. If we had any errors, like let's say I had something really weird in this file, let's mess it up a little bit, save it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to run javac.first. When we compile, you will have all of your errors when you compile. Because in Java, it's a two-step process like I already explained. In other languages, it's just a one-step process where compiles and runs all in one go. Here, you're going to have to compile, and then you'll have to run, and you'll have to see what's the problem. So there you go. There's your first Java program. You also just learned how to print anything. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Stay tuned. Subscribe, and I will be posting a lot more videos soon. We just had a site redo on the design, so go check that out as well.